Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope you are all well. I am live here on a gazillion social channels, and we're going to be talking about how do you get the attention of your prospects. So wherever you're joining me for today's live, please let me know in the chat. Good afternoon. Let me know. Ooh, a bit of audio feedback there. Let me know where you're joining from in the chat. And we can talk about how do we get the attention of our prospects. You know, we're eager to sell something, right? We want our clients to buy into us. We want them to buy from us. We're eager to sell, but why should people pay attention, and what are some of the things that you need to think about to actually get their attention? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So please, in the chat, let me know where you're joining from. Hi, Moshan. Let me know where you are. And all your questions, because we're going to cover this in today's live. One of the biggest things that used to frustrate me and still does frustrate me is that, you know, it's not just that we're keeping fighting for attention, or it's not that we're hi Luke from upstairs, hi Claire, hi Sveta from London. Hi, Vasco. It's not that just we're trying to reach people. Hi, Nick from Blackpool. We're trying to cut through a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things, let's face it, right? Our attention spans have gone to absolute crap, right? We don't really pay attention to things anymore. We ignore emails. We don't reply to people. All of that stuff has gone out the window. Why? Well, it's gone out the window because we're all being bombarded every which way. You know, I look on my phone, I've got WhatsApp messages, I've got Facebook messages, I've got LinkedIn messages, I've got text messages, I've got emails, I've got personal emails, I've got ads going on. I've got all this stuff coming at me, and you've got this stuff coming at you, and your prospective clients have got all of this noise coming at them too. And everybody's in the space of all of this noise, right? We're all in a noisy room, right? And we've got to cut through that and get the attention of the people who matter. And this is true on LinkedIn. You know, the fact that we can reach 1 billion people and we're only one message away from reaching anybody on the planet, right? Anybody on the planet. I can go on LinkedIn now and find somebody and message them. But I've still got to get their attention. Just because I can message them doesn't mean it will land. Just because I can send them and tell them how wonderful I am doesn't mean people will pay attention. So we're going to look at how do we get their attention? How do we get their prospects' attention? And one of the challenges I faced a lot. Hi, Brian from Milton Keynes. Hi, Yogenda from India. Who else have we got there? We've got Chloe from Birmingham. When I started my own business, when I've been on this journey, one of the biggest frustrations with marketing and selling has been the massive disconnect between the value I know I can deliver and the customer's perception. In other words, what the customer sees and hears versus what I say. And this is one of the biggest challenges that you face online. You know, when you meet somebody in person, if I gave you a microphone and put you in front of 200 people right now, and you could look at those faces, you could look at those expressions on people's faces, and you'd be able to judge whether they understand you, whether they're interested, or whether they're not, because their body language gives off signals. In LinkedIn and in social media, you're actually in a space where you can't convey a lot of that stuff. And so it's like trying to communicate something that's 3D into 2D. And hopefully you get that analogy, right? You're trying to communicate a complex message in a simple way, and it's very difficult. That's why most of the LinkedIn messages are so long, is because people struggle to distill what they do and make it simple and engaging and interesting for their target audience. And so the first fundamental of any kind of social selling, any kind of marketing, is you've got to get that the right people's attention. It's not just attention, it's the right people's attention, because you need the attention of the people who will actually pay you. Hi, Morgan from Peterborough. And so I wanted to talk about this today because I think the challenge most people face is the first off getting the right attention, getting qualified, decent quality attention. And I see this all the time with content. I see it all the time with outreach, that clever replaces effectiveness and we end up stuck. So I've got 3 things I want to talk about today. We'll start with the biggie, right? Why should somebody give you their attention? And why do they give you their attention? Why should somebody give you their attention is a logical thing. And please write this down, right? Because it's really important. We think instinctively, if we show value, if we give value, if we explain the facts, people will give us their attention, and they don't. You see, it should be the case that people study, take in information, process it, and make sensible decisions, but they don't. People pay attention to what really matters. With all that noise going on, they pay attention to things that are really, really relevant and matter to them. You love the Enterprise. It's everybody likes the Enterprise. Let me just check. The audio is okay. Yeah, it seems to be fine. Audio keeps dropping out. Weird. So we want the attention. We want the quality of attention. But getting attention is not logical. It's not a rational thing that people do. It's highly emotional. People pay attention because of inbuilt the way human beings are wired. It's not a logical thing. And I want to give you some thoughts on how you get attention. So the first one, there's 3 reasons why you get attention. The first one is relationship. In other words, people will give you their time because there's a level of relationship. And this is how a lot of people grow their engagement on LinkedIn. They go outbound engaging with people to actually get their attention and to get a reciprocal engagement. So it's nothing wrong with it. People do it all the time. Influencers do it. Small accounts do it. But you outbound try and build relationships. Relationships make the world go round. They're the reason why big deals are closed. So relationships are key if you want attention. People find it harder to ignore people they know. People find it harder to ignore people they recognize. So if you build a level of relationship online with the right people, outbound engaging, interacting with them, being a good human towards them, non-salesy stuff, and you do that, people are more likely to pay attention. And we've seen this when I work with a technology company. We actually improved their response rates to their email outreach by just using LinkedIn as a relationship building tool. A couple of weeks of relationship building improved their email outreach by nearly 300%. It 3x their response rates to their email outreach. So that's the first one that is really key here. Let me just see if I can check the audio. The audio is coming out right here. For some reason, there's a glitch on some channels. Weird. Can everybody else hear me here? Okay. You hear me okay on YouTube and everywhere else? Yeah, seems to be working now. It may well be just You have to just click to get the audio back. So relationships are key to unlocking that relevance. So I've just give you a massive hint here, by the way. Literally using LinkedIn to build relationships, outbound engagement, being a good human, supporting other people, and then making an ask down the line can improve your outreach success by a factor of 3. And we've done this with a big technology company, and they saw their response rates increase. So first off, relationships. People don't ignore people they recognize. They feel bad about it. They feel uncomfortable about it. It instinctively doesn't feel good to do it. So there's the first part of this. Number 1, do that. The second part of this is well, I'm gonna save that one till later. Is curiosity. Leveraging curiosity is one of the most powerful ways to actually get people to give you attention. See, we think that providing lots of information to people will actually help them, and it doesn't. I'll give you an example because I do this all the time. I send a message. It's a very simple message to some people. When I'm prospecting, I send a very simple message to people. Now, there is no perfect message. There is no perfect approach, but you find ways that work for you and that you're comfortable with. And I will send people a simple message and ask them, is it okay to ask you a question about your business? And that seems a little strange. It seems a little unusual. It seems a little bit cryptic, but that's part of the reason why it works. Part of the reason why audio message or voice notes are so effective on LinkedIn is because people have to be curious to pay attention to them. They can read text-based messages on LinkedIn through the preview pane, but an audio message or a voice note, they can't. Curiosity gets you leads and it gets you attention. People love to know the answer to something, and if you deprive them of the answer or push the answer to somewhere else where they have to go or have to do, people who are really interested in it will go and get it. Curiosity is the way you generate leads. And for my business, I generate leads every day from LinkedIn to Instagram, from the website, all of this stuff. And we leverage curiosity. And I teach my clients and my customers to leverage curiosity because that's how you really unlock revenue. It's how you unlock the attention of people, by keeping them curious, keeping them guessing even. And you see this on TikTok. If you look at TikTok, you will notice that most of the videos make a big, bold statement and then only actually deliver on that statement later down in the video. This is because they are leveraging the power of curiosity, that people want to know the answer, so they stay and listen to the video to get the answer. You can't get attention without some degree of curiosity. Relationship gets you attention. Curiosity gets you attention. And I'm going to do a Q&A before we wrap up. And I'm going to show you some of the more detailed ways I do it. And maybe I'll share my screen and show you on LinkedIn. And then the other one is relevance. And this is actually the hardest one of all. This is the hardest way to get attention because we are not psychic, right? We can't predict what people want or what people need. And we cannot, in all cases, write messages and write content that speaks exactly to their needs. But we can have a really good shot at it. You know, I'll give you an example. I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were just chatting. They're on our accelerator program and they provide financial advice. And we were talking about it, about how they can provide financial advice to multiple different groups of people, from salespeople starting in their career to people with young families, people approaching middle age, people who are preparing for retirement, they can help people. Their financial products they've got, they can help all of those people. And we were talking about how they would approach LinkedIn and how would they get their content to get the attention of the right people? How would they focus their activity? And one of the things I explained is that you could have the same financial product. Yeah. Let's say it's a savings account, right? A savings account, a special savings account. Now, every person could have that savings account, from the single person to the retiree, to the young family, to the middle-aged people. Everybody could have that account, but they'd all want to do something with that account for a different reason. So the young person might be saving for a home. The older person might be wanting to save something to pass on. There's loads of different reasons why people would use that type of savings product that they had. And so they were stuck in this position of, well, how do I appeal? They were putting out content, but the problem was it wasn't catching with anybody. It wasn't getting the attention of anybody that they could help. It was inadvertently, even though it was focused on, we can help you with a savings account, quite specific. And they were talking about saving money and preparing and building up that wealth. But the problem was they couldn't catch. Nobody was paying attention, or nobody would pay attention. And so we sat down and said, right, let's carve up some groups here that you can talk to, and smaller groups within your target market, and get their attention as a group. And so we carved up a few different groups that they could talk to and focus their efforts on. So in other words, how do we find people who are working in, earning good money, but they're early in their career? That's a good move to make. So we found them using LinkedIn and said, right, okay, what's the kind of content and messaging that these people would actually need to hear? What do they need to see from you? Why would they pay attention? What's their priorities? Yes, they want to save, but that's quite generic, right? What if they want to save for a house? What if they want to take a year off? What if they want to save up for having a family? What if they want to retire early? So like retire by the time they're 40, say. There's loads of different reasons why people might buy that product. The challenge is, if you don't talk to one reason, one specific group, none of them see the relevance. The theory is, if I talk about how you can save for your future, I can appeal to the retirees, I can appeal to the people who've just started their job, I can appeal to the people who are in the middle-aged, I can appeal to these young families, I can appeal to the people saving for their kids for college, I can appeal to everybody. But guess what? When it comes to the feed, they don't pay attention. When it comes to the content, don't pay attention. Relevance is actually the hardest way to get people's attention. Being ultra relevant to them. Speaking as if you're only talking to them. And so you really have to break down, who am I going to serve at any given time, because you won't cut through all of that noise that we talked about earlier. All that noise. And I used to get really frustrated about this. Very early on when I was a freelancer, and, I was doing the kind of marketing gigs and, charging somebody $500 a month for this and $500 a month for that. I had this really big frustration because I couldn't cut through. I could not cut through. And it took me 3 or 4 years to realize I can't cut through as long as I'm talking to too many people. I'm talking to too many people about too many things, and so I could not focus. And it was getting me down. It was getting me frustrated. To be honest with you, numerous times I thought about doing something else. because it felt so difficult. Until I realized if I can find the motivations of people, I can start to talk and tailor my content, my message and everything to a particular audience. And as long as I can find that audience on any platform, it would work. And I'll give you an example. If, say, for an example, I targeted people early on in their career, you can do that in Sales Navigator, and, targeted people in their early 20s or just graduating from uni, and they're now working in a large company. So typically larger companies pay better than smaller companies. It's just the way it rolls. I could go, okay, I'm going to grow my network on LinkedIn, and I'm going to talk about, is one, how I help people in their first role actually save a $100,000 or £100,000 deposit by the time they're 30, right? I don't know whether that's possible, but I'm just pulling that together. And if all I talked about was practical tips that could help them save money so that they could have £100,000 or $100,000 deposit for their first house by the time they're 30, guess who would pay attention to all my time-saving, money-saving tips, all my practical examples? Guess who'd pay attention? Yes, it would be those people who really want a house and really want to save money and want to get a serious amount of money by the time they hit 30. That could be it. I could equally target people and say, here's how you save, I don't know, let's $500,000 or £500,000 by the time you're 40, and I'm targeting them 20 years. This is and give them practical advice of what they need to do in terms of their income and their expenses to do it, and their investments to do it. And that's how you build attention and traction with relevance. It's actually being more specific on who you talk to. Now, of course, you can help a vast spectrum of people, huge spectrum of people, but it's very expensive. It's very time consuming to try and fight that noise. To try and push through all of that clutter is very difficult. Now, there is one other way, and I'll talk about that in a moment in terms of getting the attention. So you've got the relationship piece, you've got the curiosity piece, you've got the relevance piece, and then the kind of final one is actually is basically the I don't know whether you've heard of this phrase, but in the UK we call it rubbernecking. And it's basically where you create a spectacle. So, this is typically people do this excessively dramatic. They stoke up controversy. They do things to deliberately draw people's attention because humans are incredibly nosy. But it's really about using drama to get attention. Now, for me, some people do this successfully. It's not my personality to do that. It's not really my thing. For some people, it works a treat. And I've seen this done where people will basically be quite dramatic in what they do. And it does work because people are attracted to dramatic stuff. The problem is, and you think of people like Andrew Tate and some of these people who've I'll say successfully, I mean, they've actually got lots of attention, you have to continually up the ante with the kind of spectacle, dramatic angle. You have to up the ante because people get accustomed to it. And eventually, 9 times out of 10, and you can look at this through history, the people who continually up the ante eventually end up imploding. It implodes in them. I've apparently frozen for Matthew. I don't know why. It's all right, Matthew. So if we think about this, the easiest ones to actually leverage are relationships, curiosity. Then you've got the relevance, and then the most risky is the spectacle or the drama of hyping stuff up, or to get things, or ridiculously bold claims. You know, they do work. The problem is that it can undermine what you're doing because you have to sensationalize everything you're doing. So let me just show you a couple of ways that you can do this on LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And if we're not connected, come and find me on LinkedIn. Be great to get to know you all who are paying attention to me and tell me whether you heard me or not. Let me just get my screen up and I'll share my screen. Let me just check which screen it is. So I'm on my LinkedIn and, oh, there's me. And I want to show you a couple of ways that you can generate that curiosity or generate that relevance. So let me just show you a couple of things. So, when we're on LinkedIn, right? Quick tip on the content here, right? When you're posting content, it's only the first couple of lines that actually get you that you see. So you put an image up, but it's the first couple of lines, 1, 2, 3, that actually get the attention. And so you focusing on, often what people do is they write something, but they never think about, how do I get people to stop scrolling and pay attention to my posts? How do I do that? And it's actually about using the image and using those first couple of lines of text as a teaser to create that curiosity that people click the see more and read it. And you'll notice now as you look around LinkedIn that you will see that a lot of people actually do this. They use those first couple of lines to create the curiosity to get people to pay attention. But the other thing is, when I look at my profile, I'll flick to my profile and show you. Oh, we got a few people watching me on LinkedIn, which is great. Is that when you go to your LinkedIn profile, right, you'll notice, and this is another trend on LinkedIn, you will see a lot of people literally doing what I call seal. Now, Ron Seal is a brand in the UK, and their brand name was, it does what it says on the tin. In other words, what you see is what you get. And so one of the most powerful ways to demonstrate that relevance is that you actually hit people between the eyes using big, bold text to actually tell people exactly what they gain. Not what it is, what they gain. Remember, we're being saturated with noise, right? There's all this stuff coming at us. The only thing we prioritize are the important things to us. So if I lead in, we lead in our comms, messages, content, profile, personal brand, we lead with what you gain. Guess what? People are more curious because you've made it relevant. They're more willing to explore things because they want that gain, relevance. But like I used the analogy earlier with financial advice, if you're talking to a lot of people, it's very difficult to actually make that relevant because everybody's got different priorities. So you don't have to kind of niche down in the sense of, I only talk to 50-year-old men in corporate jobs. It can actually be niched down by what they want to gain. So how to save $100,000 in 60 months, that could be an angle that you help people do and show people how to do it. You have to have a gain that they can get. And then you lead with that, communicating it everywhere so that the people who go, I want leads from LinkedIn, will have a look, will take action. So It's about relevance. Yes, that's the most important thing. It's tricky and tough because it forces you to really define. That's why we find it so difficult to be relevant. It's because in our human nature, we are wired to want to appeal to everybody. We are wired to want to be liked by everybody. We are wired that our logic tells us if we sell broadly and market ourselves broadly, we will get more attention broadly. And it does not work that way. We get more attention by talking to fewer people. And I know that logic doesn't seem to make sense, but it's true. The art of getting attention is a paradox. In other words, if I talk to CEO's name Alan, right? And I'll just do something really silly for you. Let's have some fun, right? I'll just do this really silly, right? So on Sales Navigator, I'm going to put in the title CEO, right? And this is a really crazy niche, right? I'm not saying you do this, but it would be funny. It's just funny to do. So I've done a Sales Navigator search for CEOs called Alan, right? So I'm on LinkedIn. Now imagine, right? Imagine this. This is really strange, right? My niche is I help CEOs called Alan. What can we help them do? Retire before they're 50. Yeah. So that's what I do. Dean is now a coach that helps CEOs called Alan retire before they're 50. Crazy, I know. Really weird niche. But now I could go to my LinkedIn profile and I could tailor my profile so that my headline says, "Hey, Alan, I want to help you retire before you're 50. If I connect with Alans, if my content starts with, "Morning, Alan," if I go, "Alan, this is how you can," what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if, I know it's really strange and probably you don't have a frame of reference for that kind of niche, but think about what that could look like. Think about what that could do, right? Where you effectively start talking to Alans who are CEOs. How focused would that message be, and how much attention would you get from your 5,000 Alans? Admittedly, that's quite a small niche. If I wanted to be a bit broader, I could go John. Right? I know I'm being playful and I know I'm being a bit silly, but there's 44,000 Johns who are CEOs. What I'm trying to say is that the relevance game can be played on LinkedIn. And if I was talking to Johns who are CEOs, so my LinkedIn headline, my LinkedIn profile, "John, you're a CEO. Here's how I'm going to help you X, Y, or Z." They pay attention, and you can build you can get more attention and you can build a more loyal following because you're now speaking directly at your target audience. Yes, I can help CEOs called Alan, John, Dave, Sandra, Cherry, Deborah, all those people. But I play the relevance game to cut through the noise. Signal. Yeah. And I talk about this a lot. There's noise. In other words, get louder and louder, more impressions, more likes, more comments, more followers. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's the primary strategy, you have to be louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. It's like a game of one-upmanship, if you think about it. Most of this social media, if you want to play the noise game, it's about one-upmanship, more followers, more likes, more comments. And of course, then somebody else goes, "I need more followers. And so what happens is the bar gets raised all the time. Or you play the other game, the relevance game, where actually it's about signal. It's about your message landing and the right people seeing it and paying attention. And the beauty of the way LinkedIn works is that the more people pay attention to you, the more similar audiences LinkedIn will bring to you. So if you're appealing to like 10 or 15 or 20 different types of people and different roles and all that kind of stuff, it's very difficult for your content to get distributed in a way that actually cuts through that. But if you start to focus and zero in, you can actually cut through a lot of that noise. So how do we get the attention of our prospects? So simple things: big bold text, teasing the value with the curiosity piece. What other things can we be doing? How do we build relationships on LinkedIn? Real simple. Find your prospects, connect with them, and engage with them, interact with them, right? If they're posting, interact with them to build those relationships, right? This is a simple way. We underestimate the power of interacting with people. I don't mean being a psycho killer on social media and you're chatting to people all the time. You've just met them, complete strangers, and that's what you do. I'm talking about actually interacting like you would in a human conversation. Primo Web Solutions, when you talk about targeting and Sales Navigator, are you talking about LinkedIn ads? No, I'm talking about finding your ideal client with Sales Navigator. And I don't mean just everybody. I mean a segment of your target audience, the people you can serve. Target a segment, young families, CEOs in particular industries, particular size companies, so that you can talk to them, engage with them, and create content for them, and grow your network with them so it all aligns. So that relevance piece is threaded through your profile, it's threaded through your content, it's threaded through your outreach, it's threaded through everything that you're doing on LinkedIn. Your personal brand is built around it. And this is how you really cut through. And there's another advantage of this as well. If you think about talking to multiple different segments at once, you know, young families, retirees, graduates, all those different groups. If you're trying to talk to them, how can you possibly build a predictable system if you're targeting different people all the time? You can't build an email sequence. You can't build a follow-up sequence. You can't build any kind of frameworks or templates to help you follow up. You can't work out what performs better at X or Y because you're constantly talking to different groups. But if I went, do you know what? I'm gonna help people, independent financial advisors. I'm going to help independent financial advisors. And that's just who I talk to, right? And that's all I did. I'd understand their worlds better. I'd understand their objections better. I'd be more prepared to counter and manage and present better so that what I was selling really hit the mark for them. Why? Because I'm talking to them all the time. I'm learning from every sales encounter, every lead, every piece of content. I'm learning how to improve. But if I'm changing, if one day I'm talking and doing a sales call with a retiree, and the next day I'm doing a call with a graduate, and the next day a young family, the next day middle-aged family who's saving for their kids' college fund, I cannot pull all of that together. There's no pattern, because all those different groups have got different motivations. So I don't see the commonalities across like one particular segment. And brands, big, huge global brands, understand this intently. They really understand this, that they cannot really get their heads around their whole brand in the way they do. They can't market to their whole brand in the same way. And they have the beauty of scale. So if you look at McDonald's and these big companies, they will have the beauty of scale of having different teams marketing to different segments, different product offerings, the works. So many businesses, mine included, does not have the ability or the scale of the team. Even though we've got 30 people on our team here in Plymouth, a few people remote as well. Even though we have quite a big team, it's very difficult to devote the energy and effort to actually get the relevance with multiple groups, and even test our messaging. So, oh, this works, this doesn't, because we're talking to too many people with too many different angles. So Primo Web Solutions, no, you don't have to use ads. Sales Navigator just allowed you to find people more accurately. And then you can use that to build out your profile, your content, and go after a particular market. And that really plays into relevance, which is one of the number one ways you grow content, grow following, grow reach, grow inbound leads, is by being really specifically focused. And when it comes to messaging, it's much easier to strike up a conversation with people if you really understand their world. And like I said at the beginning, if you use LinkedIn to get known, in other words, they remember your name, they recognize the face, they've had some positive interactions, they've consumed some of your content. And then even if you did, and I teach sales teams how to do this, cold call them. It's not quite cold because you've interacted with them, or email them. You'll actually get much better responses, way better responses, like 3 times better responses. Why? Because they recognize their name and they're more able to pay attention to you because they've recognized the name. Is this all making sense? Everybody hear me now, okay? Anybody got any questions about how to get the attention of the prospects? Anybody want me to look at some particular examples that might be useful? So just a quick recap. Relevance is about what they gain. It's about them seeing what they gain and why it's beneficial to them. That's what relevance is all about. Relationships is about building that trust, that visibility, that bit of know, like, and trust, so that when you outreach, they reply, they pay attention, they see the email in the inbox, they see the message on LinkedIn. It's super relational, and as a result, they give you a shot because you've invested in building the relationship. And again, that doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't mean they have to be connected with you for a year or even 6 months or even 3 months. It can be quite short with some of your audience. Then we've got the curiosity piece, and this is about piquing people's interest. And all of these three go together. Piquing people's interest, making them curious, what's coming next, that they have to, as they say, square the circle. They have to find the answer. They have to know what comes next. Deliberately, almost teasing, tempting people to pay attention for a bit more. If you think about TV series, if you think about movies, they play this curiosity piece all the time. They build up to a cliffhanger and then they leave you hanging so that you want the next bit. They leave you hanging so that you want the next bit. That's how you get leads. Think about that from your content point of view. They leave you hanging so you have to go and get the next bit. We think human logic is, well, if we give them all the answers, if we give them everything in one hit, they're going to think we're amazing and buy the next thing and click through. Does not work that way. Curiosity is powerful. Cliffhangers. And then the final one, which is a bit more scary, a bit risky, is the kind of the ruckus, the spectacle, the drama, the over the top, that kind of stuff, which my view is it does work, but eventually you have to up the ante, and eventually it bites you in the bum. And I know a lot of people who've tried this on LinkedIn, really good people, tried this on LinkedIn to play the spectacle game, push the boat, really kind of ramp it up. And then lo and behold, what happens? Their account gets lost. They get reported. Their tribe is overwhelmed by people who don't like them. So they end up being so polarizing, it actually harms them. And so, yes, it can be fun. And yes, it can be a quick way to go up like a rocket and get lots of attention quickly. But in the end, it is your downfall too. It does bring you down. Anybody got any questions? I'm just checking my LinkedIn just to see if there's any questions there. Let me just stop sharing and I'll go to the chat on here. Narrowman's asked a good question about how does one narrow down to one niche? So that's a real good question. And here's the tricky bit. And I've seen a few different ways of approaching this. So that I've seen a few people approach this in a different way. But here's my general thing. I look at what the buyer motivations are. I look at who's the easiest to get access to and who do I enjoy working with the most. So I look at, okay, I can get access to graduates. How do I get them Sales Navigator? Great. Who do I enjoy working with? Well, I enjoy working with graduates. Fine. Okay. And do they have the what's their motivation? So it's people, they're saving for their future. They're saving for a first house, wedding, what have you. Okay. I'll map that out and go, okay, right. Can I find them in ample quantities? And can I find them in ample quantities that can actually afford to do what I'm offering? So when I niche down on graduates working in maybe tech companies, or maybe people who recently graduated in the last couple of years that are in large tech companies. Why large tech companies? Because the salaries are generally better, which means they should have a higher disposable income. So I'm just looking at the buying motivation, why they would buy from it, what they need, what they want to gain. I'm looking at the demographics of how I would find them and in good enough quality. And I'm looking at, okay, I'm looking at which ones do I enjoy working with the best? Which ones, we call it the most valuable clients. In other words, out of all the people you can serve, who are the best fit for you, which is the motivations that you can help them with, the demographics that fit, and of course the relevance. So Sari's asked a good point about how do you get your posts in front of them? Well, there's two parts to that. So there's two parts to getting your posts in front of them. Well, three. Sari, a good chunk of the LinkedIn network do not post. Good chunk of them do not post, but there are some that do. So what I would be doing is, number one, going and engaging and connecting with the ones that are posting. So find the audience in Sales Navigator that are posting and active, connect with them and engage with them, because that will build your traction quickly. You should be connecting with your target audience. That's critical. So that's the first group, the active posters connecting and engaging. Second group are what we call the lurkers. And again, you want to be connecting with them. It's much more difficult to engage them, but as they connect, if your content is really dialed in, your active people will keep you visible. The active ideal client profile will keep you visible for what we call the lurkers, which are the people who log in, they're on their mobiles, they're doing all of that stuff, but they're not posting themselves. And so what happens is the active people keep you visible for the less active people. And that's how you get your content in front of them. Now, you can share it into groups and you can connect with people who are associated with your target ideal client, but that is the most straightforward way. Number one, engage with the people who are active that fit your ideal client and connect with them. And then the second group, the lurkers, which are the people who watch and consume a lot of the content but don't post a lot themselves, you start to connect with them too. And the active ones keep you visible and you keep all your content dialed in to them. Any other questions? Any other questions? I feel like I've done a lot in this session, even though it's gone really quickly. So I did start a little early. Anybody else got any questions? No? Wow. So think about this, right? Let me leave you something to think about. You've got the option of being more relevant and building relationships. Relationships is a one-to-one thing. Okay, Monigo's got a good question as well. So I will come to Monigo's questions in a minute. Relationships you can do through content, but you can also do through messaging. By that, I mean, take away all the pressure to sell and just get to know the person. Just relax. And it won't work with everybody, but you'll be able to connect and engage some relationships. Monigo, I'm going to come to your question in a second. But there's 3 parts, remember. 3 parts you want to pay attention to. Relationships, create deeper relationships. Don't just accumulate connections. Try and deepen those relationships. Relevance is about being really dialed into what your ideal clients need. And that means you can't serve all of them at once if you want to get it right and get it flying as a system. And curiosity gets people to reply. It gets people to pay attention. It gets people to consume. That's how you get attention. Now, Monigo said a question here is, I offer mental health training and menopause training for corporates and individuals. What job role should I focus on or market to? Well, Monigo, it depends on the companies, but atypically you will have HR departments, you'll have well-being departments, and they would be the people you target. Typically, HR departments and well-being are not budget holders. But they are proposal makers to other people. So I would be focused on HR, and obviously, Monigo, I'm making menopause and mental health are worlds of. They are 2 different things. It's very difficult to talk about both of them in the same feed. So I'd be looking at which one could I develop out into a predictable revenue source before adding in another. And this is just me speaking for myself. I know right now in the UK, there is a lot of attention being made towards supporting people going through the menopause. So I think that would be a good move. I think also what you could do is actually maybe, because Sales Navigator has a lot of first names, you could actually target people by first name and grow your network with people who are likely to be approaching or around that age where the menopause kicks in, and you could find them there too. So that's what I'd be doing. I think the mental health first aid, it's a massive issue and it's a big priority right now, but this is an outsider's version. I'm looking at it from the outsiders looking in. It seems to be massively over-serviced right now in terms of well-being, mental health. There seems to be a lot happening. That's a good thing, but again, mental health in big companies could be quite tricky to get into because a lot of the bigger players are probably already zeroed in on it. Is there a spin or something else you can put into it that helps that? Could you actually mix the mental health and the menopause together? I work with companies where they have a lot of people who they want to support people going through the menopause and protect their mental health. Through that process, you could mix the 2 together. So look, I've run out of time, so I've got to run. Thank you for all joining me today. If you're not following me on LinkedIn, come and follow me. In my featured section, I have an email newsletter you can sign up for if you want to go click there and sign up for. And if you want to chat to me about how you can grow your business, or chat to my team about how you can grow your business, when I send the replay to you, because I'll send the replay to you, just reply back if you want to chat to us and we'll help you do all the fun stuff on LinkedIn to cut through that noise and win the clients and get the opportunity to build your business on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. Thank you for all the support you give me on my content. And we will see you very, very soon. And I think I'm back next week on my profile doing an audio event. So come and find me on my profile where I'm doing another audio event. Yes, Moniga, I'm not sure what the audio issue is. I think it's because I'm streaming to like a gazillion channels at once. But, joys of technology, isn't it? Anyway, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next week on my profile for an audio event.